Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Manoj Singh Rana and with me is Anita Anand with the evening news. The headlines: Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of multiple projects in Somnath, Gujarat. The Prime Minister stresses upon national and international potential of tourism and spiritual tourism, says country is reviving ancient glory by building modern infrastructure. India records 44.3% increase in export of agricultural and processed food products during first quarter of current fiscal. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu emphasizes need of indigenous cutting-edge technologies to make India self-reliant in defense sector. DCGI approves Zydus Cadilla's indigenously developed DNA-based vaccine ZyCoV-D for emergency use authorization. Over 57 crore 22 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered across the country so far. National recovery rate stands at 97.54%. Government committed to bringing back its citizens from Afghanistan, says Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. In Maharashtra, 13 labourers killed in a road mishap in Buldhana district. In Chhattisgarh, 2 ITBP jawans martyred in a Maoist attack in Narayanpur district of Bastar region. And Muharram observed across the country with due reverence and solemnity. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is going on, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of various projects in Somnath, Gujarat through video conferencing. The projects inaugurated include the Somnath Promenade, the Somnath Exhibition Centre and the reconstructed temple precinct of Old Somnath. The Prime Minister also laid the foundation stone of Sri Parvati Temple during the event.
मेरा सौभाग्य है कि सोमनाथ मंदिर ट्रस्ट के अध्यक्ष के रूप में मुझे इस पुण्य स्थान की सेवा का अवसर मिलता रहा है। आज मुझे समुद्र दर्शन पथ, सोमनाथ प्रदर्शन गैलरी और जीर्णोद्धार के बाद नए स्वरूप में जूना सोमनाथ मंदिर के लोकार्पण का सौभाग्य मिला है। साथ ही आज पार्वती माता मंदिर का शिलान्यास भी हुआ है। इतना पुनीत संयोग और साथ में सावन का पवित्र महीना, मैं मानता हूं ये हम सबके लिए भगवान सोमनाथ जी के आशीर्वाद की ही सिद्धि है।
The Prime Minister said today's inauguration will strengthen the link between religious endeavours and tourism. Mr. Modi said it is not only a temple but a place that stands for the strength of the Indian culture and humanitarian ideology.
आज दुनिया में कोई भी व्यक्ति इस भव्य संरचना को देखता है तो उसे केवल एक मंदिर ही नहीं दिखाई देता, उसे एक ऐसा अस्तित्व दिखाई देता है जो सैकड़ों हजारों सालों से प्रेरणा देता रहा है, जो मानवता के मूल्यों की घोषणा कर रहा है। एक ऐसा स्थल जिसे हजारों साल पहले हमारे ऋषियों ने प्रभास क्षेत्र यानी प्रकाश का, ज्ञान का क्षेत्र बताया था और जो आज भी पूरे विश्व के सामने ये आह्वान कर रहा है कि सत्य को असत्य से हराया नहीं जा सकता, आस्था को आतंक से कुचला नहीं जा सकता।
The Prime Minister dwelled upon the national and international potential of tourism and spiritual tourism. He said that the country is reviving the ancient glory by building modern infrastructure which provide employment to the youth. He said India climbed to the 34th place in 2019 from 65th in 2013 in the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index. Mr. Modi said, "Our thinking should be to improve the present by learning from history and create a new future." He said that Bharat Jodo Andolan is not limited to geographical or ideological affiliations, but also resolved to connect us with our past to build the future India. Mr. Modi said the arrangement of our 4 dhams, the concept of our Shakti Peeths, and the establishment of different pilgrimages in different corners of the country is the outline of our faith and an expression of the spirit of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. He said that from Somnath and Nageshwar in the west to Baidyanath in the east, and from Baba Kedar in the north to Sri Rameshwar in the south, these 12 Jyotirlingas are connecting the whole India. Speaking on the occasion, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said the government is providing modern facilities to all religious places under the Prashad scheme of the centre.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu visited the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited complex in Bengaluru today. Addressing the scientists and engineers of HAL and Aeronautical Development Agency at the HAL complex, the Vice President laid emphasis on developing cutting-edge technologies indigenously to make India self-reliant in defense technology and emerge as an export hub of modern military hardware. Mentioning India's capabilities to manufacture the state-of-the-art missiles, satellites and space vehicles, Mr. Naidu stressed that the paradox remains that India still is the nation which imports largest arms and armaments in the world. He highlighted that the indigenous products will play a key role in leapfrogging India into a powerhouse in aerospace and defense sectors. More from our Bengaluru correspondent.
The Vice President told scientists and engineers that it is our duty to ensure that our armed forces are fully equipped with the best to handle any challenge or security threat arising out of highly complex geopolitical environment. Earlier in the day, the Vice President visited HAL's LCA Tejas manufacturing facility and helicopter facility, which showcased indigenously developed advanced light helicopter Dhruv. He also saw the light combat helicopter and a light utility helicopter that will replace Cheetah or Chetak helicopters in the days to come. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has approved a proposal mandating the service headquarters to publish the relevant details on its website and Ministry of Defence within 1 week of receipt of approvals. The decision will help promote ease of doing business and increase transparency in capital acquisition process. Defence Ministry in a statement said that the details shared will be subject to sensitivities, keeping the security aspect in mind. This is an important step towards greater transparency and information symmetry. India has achieved a significant increase of 44.3% in export of agricultural and processed food products during April to June in the current financial year. Commerce and Industry Ministry said the overall export has increased to $4,817 million in April to June this year as compared to that of $3,338 million in the first quarter of last year. The ministry said the initiatives taken by Agricultural and Processed Food Products Export Development Authority, APEDA, has helped the country to achieve this milestone at a time when the outbreak of pandemic was at its peak. In order to ensure seamless quality certification of products to be exported, APEDA has recognized 220 labs across India to provide services of testing to a wide range of products and exporters. Zydus Cadila has received approval for emergency use authorization from the Drug Controller General of India for Zycov-D vaccine. Ministry of Science and Technology in a statement said that it is the world's first and India's indigenously developed DNA-based vaccine for COVID-19 to be administered in humans, including children and adults 12 years and above. It has been developed in partnership with the Department of Biotechnology under the mission COVID Suraksha and implemented by Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, BIRAC. This 3-dose vaccine, when injected, produces the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2 virus and elicits an immune response which plays a vital role in protection from disease as well as viral clearance. The plug-and-play technology on which the plasmid DNA platform is based can be easily adapted to deal with mutations in the virus such as those already occurring. The ministry said interim results from phase 3 clinical trials in over 28,000 volunteers showed primary efficacy of 66.6% for symptomatic RT-PCR positive cases. This has been the largest vaccine trial so far in India for COVID-19. This vaccine had already exhibited robust immunogenicity and tolerability and safety profile in the adaptive phase 1 and 2 clinical trials carried out earlier. Both the phase 1, 2 and 3 clinical trials have been monitored by an independent data safety monitoring board. Secretary of Department of Biotechnology and Chairperson BIRSC, Dr. Renu Swarup, said that it is a matter of great pride that the world's first DNA COVID-19 vaccine, ZyCoV-D by Zydus, has been developed in partnership with the Department of Biotechnology and supported through Mission COVID Suraksha. She said the Indian vaccine Mission COVID Suraksha was launched under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Package 3.0 and it is aimed at the development of safe and efficacious COVID-19 vaccines for public health. Dr. Swarup expressed confidence that this will be an important vaccine for both India and the world. She said this is an important milestone in the indigenous vaccine development mission and positions India on the global map for novel vaccine development. Speaking on this, Chairman of the Zydus Group, Mr. Pankaj Patel, said they are extremely happy that their efforts to put out a safe, well-tolerated and efficacious vaccine to fight COVID-19 has become a reality with ZyCoV-D. He said creating the world's first DNA vaccine at such a crucial juncture is a tribute to the Indian research scientists and their spirit of innovation.
More than 57 crore 22 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered in the country under the nationwide vaccination drive so far. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said over 54 lakh 71,000 vaccine doses were administered to the beneficiaries in the last 24 hours. In a statement, the Health Ministry said the country has reported 36,571 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate currently stands at 97.54%, which is the highest since March 2020. In Uttar Pradesh, the state government has decided to lift weekend lockdown on Sunday following reduction in the number of fresh cases of COVID-19 infection. Additional Chief Secretary Home Avnish Kumar Avasthi said, however, the weekly curb with respect to markets will remain in place. The Saturday lockdown in the state had been lifted last week. More from our Lucknow correspondent.
According to the order, night curfew will continue from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. throughout the week as earlier across the state. Shopkeepers and customers have to follow the compulsion of using masks, 2 gaj ki duri and sanitization. Meanwhile, 15 districts in state have become COVID infection free as there is not a single case of COVID there. During the last 24 hours, more than 2,33,000 COVID tests conducted and there was found no new case of COVID in 58 districts. During the period, only 26 new cases were detected in the state. Presently, the number of total active cases of COVID in the state has reduced to 408. MS Yadav, AIR News, Lucknow.
Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that India is committed to bringing back its citizens from Afghanistan after the Taliban took over. He said the Civil Aviation Ministry had operated its flights to Kabul every day, but after the closure of the Kabul airspace, the Indian Air Force's C-130 Hercules Globemaster aircraft flew to Kabul to bring back the Indian citizens safely. Mr. Scindia said this during the inauguration of an Indigo flight from Jabalpur to New Delhi.
हमारे मंत्रालय ने रोज फ्लाइट उड़ाकर काबुल से हमारे सभी नागरिकों को वापस लाने का कार्य किया। पिछले रविवार तक हमारी फ्लाइट्स चल रही थी रोज। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी का जो संकल्प था कि हर भारत के नागरिक की जिम्मेदारी हमारी होती और भारतीय वायु सेना का C-130 हरक्यूलिस ग्लोबमास्टर एयरक्राफ्ट को काबुल हम ले गए और हर दिन हम वहां से 130 से 150 हमारे नागरिकों को सुरक्षित घर वापस लेके आ रहे हैं।
Mr. Scindia also informed that as many as 71 lakh Indians have been brought back to the country under the Vande Bharat mission, and 55 lakh people have been sent back to their respective countries which were stuck in India owing to COVID-19. Mr. Scindia, along with Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, also virtually flagged off the Indigo flight from Jabalpur to Mumbai and Indore today. More in this report.
Well, we regret that we couldn't bring that report to you. Foreign ministers of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization today expressed deep concern on the grave developments in Afghanistan and called for an immediate end to the violence. They also expressed deep concerns about reports of serious human rights violations and abuses across Afghanistan. In a statement issued after a meeting at Brussels, NATO foreign ministers have pledged to continue the safe evacuation of their citizens and partner country nationals. They said that Afghan people deserve to live in safety, security and dignity, and to build on the important political, economic and social achievements they have made over the last 20 years. They called on all parties in Afghanistan to work in good faith to establish an inclusive and representative government with the meaningful participation of women and minority groups. You're listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays foundation stone of multiple projects in Somnath, Gujarat. Prime Minister stresses upon national and international potential of tourism and spiritual tourism, says country is reviving ancient glory by building modern infrastructure. India records 44.3% increase in export of agricultural and processed food products during first quarter of current fiscal. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu emphasizes need of indigenous cutting-edge technologies to make India self-reliant in defense sector. DCGI approves Zydus Cadela's indigenously developed DNA-based vaccine ZyCoV-D for emergency use authorization. Over 57 crore 22 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered across the country so far. National recovery rate stands at 97.54%. Government committed to bring back its citizens from Afghanistan, says Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. In Maharashtra, 13 laborers killed in a road mishap in Buldhana district. In Chhattisgarh, 2 ITBP jawans martyred in a Maoist attack in Narayanpur district of Bastar region. Muharram observed across the country with due reverence and solemnity. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे. Welcome back.
Azadi Ka Safar every day with All India Radio from Monday the 16th of August. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, News Services Division of All India Radio brings to you the story of glorious struggle and sacrifices of freedom fighters on 100.1 FM Gold channel in the English news bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the evening news. In Maharashtra, 13 labourers lost their lives today in a road mishap near Talegaon in Sindkhed Raja Taluka of the Buldhana district. According to the highway police, the accident took place at noon when the dumper carrying the labourers and the iron rods allegedly slipped and overturned, burying 16 people underneath the rods. 13 of the 16 died on the spot, while the remaining 3 sustained injuries. The 3 injured are in critical condition. 1 injured worker is undergoing treatment at the rural hospital at Sindkhed Raja, and the remaining 2 critically injured persons have been shifted to Jalna District Hospital for treatment. In Chhattisgarh, 2 jawans of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police ITBP were martyred in a Maoist attack in Narayanpur district of tribal Bastar region today. Bastar Ranges Inspector General of Police Sundar Raj said the ITBP personnel of the 45th Battalion were in a search operation when the Maoist attacked from a distance of 600 meters off to the security forces. In Himachal Pradesh, the maiden 5-day Jan Ashirwad Yatra entered the second phase today. The yatra is being led by the Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur, who got rousing welcome on his arrival in Bilaspur today. On this occasion, he also addressed a public meeting. He said that tourism will be promoted in Bilaspur district and adventure sports will be strengthened, which will also open up employment opportunities for the local people. Earlier, addressing a press conference in Shimla, Mr. Thakur said that Himachal Pradesh will showcase its rich art, culture and heritage on national and international platforms.
Time has come to promote and showcase the art and culture of Himachal Pradesh. We have rich traditions, rich culture from different regions. हम अपनी विरासत को लुप्त नहीं होने देंगे, इसको बड़ा बनाकर देश और दुनिया के कोने-कोने तक ले जाने का काम करेंगे. और ये जिम्मेदारी आज की पीढ़ी के ऊपर है.
Principal Director General News Services Division and Director General of All India Radio N. Venudhar Reddy today exhorted the officials of the public service broadcaster to update constantly with the times and provide more reliable information and meaningful programs to bring people back to the listenership fold. Reviewing the activities of All India Radio Hyderabad today, he said, All India Radio has been recently rated as one of the few credible media organizations in the world and asked officials to make use of the credibility to provide listeners reliable and purposeful programs. He asked them to introduce unsung heroes of freedom struggles as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। आजादी का सफर AIR न्यूज के संग। आजादी का सफर with AIR News. India's glorious fight for freedom is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the valiant struggle every day. In today's episode, we talk about one of the heroes of India's freedom struggle, Undi Veeran, and about the foremost social reform organization, the Brahmo Samaj. Today is the day when a great son of India was martyred in the fight for freedom way back in the year 1771. He was Undi Veeran Pagadai, the one-man army from Tamil Nadu. Undi Veeran was one of the first warriors to rebel against the East India Company. He was born in Sankarankovil of Tenkasi district of Tamil Nadu. He was the commander-in-chief of Buli Devan's army, who ruled Tirunelveli area. East India Company acquired the revenue collecting rights of southern Tamil Nadu from the Nawab of Arcad. Buli Devan and his lieutenant Undi Veeran refused to accept the British domination. Undi Veeran led the army and fought many battles with the British and won them all.
மகிமை கொண்ட மண்ணின் மீது எதிரிகளின் கால்கள் மலர் பறிப்பதில்லையடா வீரர்களின் கைகள் சென்று வா வென்று வா வெல்க நாடு வெல்க நாடு வெல்க வெல்கவே.
During one of the wars, the East India Company arrested Buli Devan from his fort and beheaded him. Undi Veeran was enthroned as the king. He continued to fight the British and also took care of Buli Devan's family. In all, Undi Veeran fought 11 battles against the East India Company. Finally, on the 20th August 1771, near Manur village of Tirunelveli district, even after being fatally wounded, Undi Veeran led his army to victory against the British. But after the war, the fearless warrior succumbed to injuries. Today, a memorial has been built at Manur, beckoning the coming generations to pause and ponder on the life of the great warrior.
It was on this day in 1828 that the first session of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's Brahmo Samaj was held in Kolkata. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a pioneer social reformer in India who paved the way for progress in India under British rule. Roy was also an important figure in the Bengal Renaissance movement, often being called the father of the Bengal Renaissance. The Brahmo Samaj is credited with being one of the most important reform movements in India, which led to the foundation of modern India. Brahmo Samaj was a reflection of the Bengal Renaissance. The organization took active participation in social emancipation, which included the abolition of sati, the caste system, child marriage, dowry, and in upliftment of the status of women in society.
Ever since the beginning of a political movement against the British government, leaders had been demanding constitutional reforms. Dadabhai Naoroji had already put forward the idea of Swaraj in the annual session of Congress held at Calcutta in 1906. Also, during the First World War, the Home Rule League movement was gaining momentum throughout the country. To satisfy popular demand, Edwin Montagu, then Secretary of State for India, made a declaration in the British Parliament on this day in 1917, defining the goal of British policies in India. This came to be known as the August Declaration. The August Declaration aimed at increasing association of Indians in administration with a view to the progressive realization of responsible governments in India. The declaration proposed to provide a dominion status to India after the Second World War. However, the leaders in India criticized the reforms as people demanded complete independence and not just a dominion status. The declaration was criticized in a session held at Calcutta in December 1917. Bal Gangadhar Tilak also characterized the reforms as unworthy and disappointing, a sunless dawn. This report, however, became the basis of the Government of India Act 1919, which remained the cornerstone of governance till India's independence in 1947. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar AIR News ke Sang. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Ashura-e-Muharram was observed with due reverence and solemnity in various parts of the country today. The day marks the martyrdom of Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Hazrat Imam Hussain, and his companions who laid down their lives for upholding truth, righteousness and justice in Karbala. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today remembered the sacrifice of Hazrat Imam Hussain on the day of Ashura and recalled his courage as well as commitment to justice. And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi is likely to witness generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Metropolitan cities including Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata are also expected to witness a generally cloudy sky with light rain. Srinagar and Jammu will also witness partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm. Leh is expected to have a generally cloudy sky, and so is the case with Gilgit. Muzaffarabad will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Agartala may see generally cloudy sky, and Guwahati will also witness partly cloudy sky with possibility of light rain or thunderstorm. Most of the cities in the northeast region, including Imphal, Shillong, Aizawl, Kohima, Itanagar and Gangtok, are all likely to witness generally cloudy sky with possibility of rain. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of multiple projects in Somnath, Gujarat. Prime Minister stresses upon national and international potential of tourism and spiritual tourism, says country is reviving ancient glory by building modern infrastructure. India records 44.3% increase in export of agricultural and processed food products during first quarter of current fiscal. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu emphasizes need of indigenous cutting-edge technologies to make India self-reliant in defence sector. DCGI approves Zydus Cadilla's indigenously developed DNA-based vaccine ZyCoV-D for emergency use authorization. Over 57 crore 22 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered across the country so far. Government committed to bringing back its citizens from Afghanistan, says Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. In Maharashtra, 13 labourers killed in a road mishap in Buldhana district. In Chhattisgarh, 2 ITBP jawans martyred in a Maoist attack in Narayanpur district of Bastar region. And Muharram observed across the country with due reverence and solemnity. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.